What up and welcome to Mean Joe Video, where we celebrate the classics and lesser known gems. I'm Mean Joe Grizzly, your humble video store clerk and curator of the classics. And it's here, the spookiest day of the year, the one day of the year that us horror fans can celebrate the freaks that we are and the normies get to justify watching horror films. And this is the Mean Joe Video Halloween special, and on this year's special I'm going to be providing y'all with a list that has various ranges from family-friendly films to black and white classics, to more modern and recent releases that are going to be embodying the atmosphere, aesthetic, and spirit of the holiday that we love the most, Halloween. So go ahead and throw on your Halloween costume, grab your snacks and candy, dust off that old VCR, and let's get to the list. Now, before we start this list, I just want to say that this is not a definitive list. This is just a list of recommendations that are outside of the normal watches that people normally watch during the spooky season. This is going to be movies that I feel like will keep you glued to your TV sets until the witching hour on November 1st. And maybe, just maybe, you might like them enough to add to your regular seasonal watching list. So we're going to kick this list off with some family-friendly picks that are just perfect for your trick-or-treaters after their candy-collecting festivities. Coming in at number 10 is The Halloween Tree from 1993, directed by Mario Filuzzo and written by the legendary horror/sci-fi author Ray Bradbury. The Halloween Tree follows a group of trick-or-treating children who are taken on a spiritual journey to learn the origins and influence of Halloween when their friend is spirited away towards the afterlife. And this is an absolute forgotten classic from my childhood. It was a staple in my house. Every single year we watched this movie. And it's also narrated by the legendary Ray Bradbury. And not only do you go on this journey to discover the origins and influences of the holiday of Halloween, but you also get this really heartfelt story about a group of kids who are willing to do anything to save their friend. You also have the voice of Leonard Nimoy. Yes, that's right, Spock himself, doing the voice of the main antagonist, Mr. Moonshroud, the villainous and yet charismatic guide for these children on their spooky journey. And we get to see this journey on full display in this beautiful old school hand-drawn animation. So I believe between its visuals and its great storytelling that this movie will not only be a spooky experience for you and your little trick-or-treaters, but it also has a heartwarming story that will warm the coldest of hearts. At number 9, you have Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998. And it is directed by Jim Stenstrom and written by Glenn Leopold. And the story follows Scooby, Shaggy, Fred, and Velma and Daphne as they reunite after a year hiatus from Mystery Inc. to investigate an island in Louisiana said to be haunted by the ghost of the pirate Morgan Moonscar and his pirate crew. This was another one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid because it was the draw of the Mystery Inc. gang actually meeting real monsters on one of their cases. And not only do you see Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and the gang get up to the usual hijinks, the animation in this movie is incredible. They kick things up a notch, and everything looks incredible, from the backgrounds to the character designs to the zombies and the monster designs. Those are absolutely incredible and really, really well done. And not only that, you have some amazing voice performances from some absolute legends, like Mark Hamill, Adrienne Barbeau, B.J. Ward, Frank Welker, and Billy West. But more importantly, this is a Scooby-Doo story that actually has some stakes involved because this time, after all, the monsters are real. Coming in at number 8 is Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask from 1995. And this was the first 2 episodes of the Goosebumps series that aired on Fox in October of 1995. It's directed by Timothy Bond and written by Jose Rivera. And it's based on a book by R.L. Stine, who also presents the episode at the beginning. The story follows Carly Breath, a timid girl who buys a Halloween mask from a sketchy store, and that mask begins to merge with her face and take over her personality. The Goosebumps books by R.L. Stine absolutely is a foundation for my love of horror, and without it, I wouldn't be the horror fan that I am today. So to include one of these on the list was a must. And I couldn't think of a better one to add on the list than The Haunted Mask, considering that The Haunted Mask is probably the most Halloween-centric episode of the Goosebumps show that was ever aired. I know that there was one that was based on these pumpkin beings and everything, but this one really feels like Halloween, because you're following Carly Beth as this mask is slowly taking over and taking control of her body, and her going around and scaring other kids while they're trick-or-treating, and you have all of these really cool imagery like from graveyards and all the spooky like floating masks towards the end of the episode. It's just something that was a really big like influence on me as a horror fan when I was a kid, and I couldn't think of a better feature to show kids that are trying to get into horror that hadn't really dipped their toes in yet than the haunted mask. It stars Catherine Young, who plays Carly Beth, as the girl who gets possessed by the mask, and we're following her on her journey through Halloween night as the mask slowly takes control of her and begins to not only change her personality but also prey upon her own fears, where she is afraid that she will never have her face back ever again. And not only is this movie a really good Halloween story, but it's also a good tale of self-appreciation and a very fair warning of be careful what you wish for. This movie absolutely gave me the heebie-jeebies when I was a kid, and the mask is so well done, especially for a kid's show. That mask looks absolutely incredible. I think that your little trick-or-treaters will find this quite spooky. Now, this is the part of the list where we put the little monsters to bed and we bring out the OGs of horror so we can bring in some classics from the golden age of horror. At number 7, we have The Wolfman from 1941, directed by George Wagner and written by Kurt Siodmak, and starring Lon Chaney Jr. Larry Talbot returns home to bury his recently deceased brother and falls in love with a local girl. And one night when they are out for a walk, their friend is attacked by a wolf. And when Larry tries to save the woman being attacked, he is bitten by the wolf. And on the next full moon, he changes into a werewolf. Not only is The Wolfman one of my favorite Universal monster movies, I think it might arguably be the best film out of all of them. Not only is The Wolfman one of the greatest movie monsters in cinematic history, I think that the atmosphere in this movie might be the best when it comes to gothic aesthetic and spooky imagery. It's got the fog rolling in through the forest floor and the moonlight being the only thing that is illuminating anything in this forest, as well as the creepy sound design when the Wolfman is around or when the Wolfman is stalking his prey. And probably the best reason to watch this movie is Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance as Larry Talbot. He plays that tragic and burdened and cursed character so damn well. He is absolutely perfect in this role. And I believe that for that reason alone, you should add this classic to your watch list. Coming up next is House on Haunted Hill from 1959. And it is directed by the great William Castle, written by Rob White, and starring the absolute legend Vincent Price. An eccentric millionaire, Frederick Loren, and his wife Annabelle invite 5 people to stay in a haunted house for one night for a chance to win $10,000. And as the night progresses, the guests are trapped within the house with an assortment of terrors. This is my absolute favorite Vincent Price movie, hands down, no questions asked. I think that he is fantastic and he plays a great villain in this movie. And I first saw this movie on Monster Vision back in the day, pre-Joe Bob Briggs, and it was something that had a big impression on me because of how graphic it was for a black and white movie. It's got ghostly skeletons, creepy gliding little old ladies, and even some severed heads, which was something that I did not see coming when I was about 6 years old and I first seen this movie. But the house itself is enough for you to be watching this movie because it might not look like the traditional haunted house on the outside, but the interior has all the decor and aesthetic you need for the perfect haunted house. Now, it doesn't have that traditional, like the cobwebs and stuff like that, but it has Gothic fixtures and Gothic style rooms, and it's this massive house that has all these curtains over these big windows and these very old looking beds, and there's corridors everywhere, and there's even a torture chamber. With that creepy Gothic aesthetic and a little bit of murder, what else do you need? Coming in at number 5 is Night of the Living Dead from 1968. Directed by George A. Romero, written by George A. Romero and John Russo, and starring Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea. 7 people are trapped in a rural farmhouse in Pennsylvania under siege by flesh-eating reanimated corpses. There is a lot that I could say about George Romero's classic, from its social commentary to its trailblazing effect that ushered in the modern era of horror. But the reason to watch this film on Halloween night is the spooky and creepy atmosphere. And of course, the zombies. And this movie was responsible for the term zombie to describe the living dead. But it doesn't matter what you call them because they are super creepy when they are staggering through graveyards in the fields of Pittsburgh while being bathed in nothing but the moonlight and surrounded by misty fog. And with the movie shot all in eerie black and white, it doesn't get much better than this for a Halloween watch. But now that the OGs have dozed off, it's time for some more modern selections to take us on into the night. At number 4, we have Trick or Treat from 1986. Directed by Charles Martin Smith and written by Joel Sorensen, Michael Murphy, and Rhett Topham, and starring Mark Pierce, Gene Simmons, and the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne. An outcast metalhead teenager named Eddie must stop a vengeful spirit of his favorite heavy metal artist, Sammy Kerr, as a supernatural shredder attempts to kill everyone that ever wronged Eddie and then everyone in his school. Being a metalhead, this supernatural slasher is an absolute essential watch for me every single year. It not only has heavy metal icons Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, but also has a kick-ass soundtrack by the band Fastway, and an absolute badass heavy metal villain in Sammy Kerr. It's got the setting of Halloween with all the decor, and it even has an epic finale that takes place at a high school Halloween dance that we get to see a rocking performance by Sammy Kerr. This is a pick that is especially for metalheads that are horror fans, and I hope that you enjoy. At number 3, we have Dark Harvest from 2023. Directed by David Slade, written by Michael Gillard, and starring Casey Likes, Emil Crutchfield, and Jeremy Davies. In a small rural town, every year teenage boys must compete in the annual Halloween run, where they must stop a deadly supernatural creature known as Sawtooth Jack from reaching the church before midnight, with the winner getting a prize of a new car, $25,000, and a shot at a new life outside of the dead-end town. Everything about this movie screams fall and Halloween. It's like The Purge on Halloween with a pumpkin-headed monster at the center, and it absolutely works. All the teenagers have masks and makeup on as they set out on Halloween night to slay this beast, while the town is covered in decorations and surrounded by cornfields. And it doesn't get more Halloween than that. But the kids themselves are also the scary thing about this movie, because all of them are willing to do anything to win this prize and get out of this dead-end town. Whether it be killing the pumpkin-headed beast first, or killing each other to get to the beast. And not only that, it's this very sort of coming-of-age story where they all seem to be chasing destiny, where it also has the elements of movies like The Outsiders, where there is kids on the wrong side of town and kids on the right side of town, and those two social differences clashing with one another. But on that one night, all it takes is one of them to slay the beast Sawtooth Jack, and the prize is theirs. I think this movie is very underrated, and not a lot of people talk about it, and for that reason alone, I think you should check it out and possibly add it to your yearly Halloween watch list. Coming in at number 2 is Cobweb from 2023, directed by Samuel Bowden, written by Charles Thomas Devlin, and starring Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr. A young boy hears voices coming from behind his bedroom wall, and he starts to suspect that his overprotective parents are hiding something sinister. This movie is not only one of the most underrated movies of the last few years, it is also a criminally underrated Halloween essential watch. And you have nothing but creep factor oozing from this movie, whether it be the dark and dreary house with all these weird, bland, and dark aesthetics, or the voices that's coming from the walls, or the sinister nature of these very overprotective and quite frankly scary parents. But it also takes place around Halloween, and there's pumpkins and there's leaves on the ground and there's trick-or-treaters and there's decorations and all this stuff that just oozes the spirit of Halloween. And particularly the atmosphere gets turned up to 10 when the shit hits the fan in the second act and there is this big monstrous reveal. I think it is a great and at times intense watch that is perfect for a dark Halloween night that is sure to give you the scares that you crave. And now for the main event. This movie might not be the scariest on the list. It might not be the most thrilling. And like I said before, this is not a definitive list. But when I tell you that every single year I have to watch this movie because I feel like this is one of the most Halloween horror movies that you can watch. And that is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982. Written and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace and starring Tom Atkins and David Peter O'Hurley. Dr. Daniel Chalice uncovers a terrible plot by a small-town mask maker, Connell Cochran, a madman that plans on committing mass murder on Halloween night through a Celtic ritual by way of the most popular Halloween mask for children. Now, I am a massive, massive, massive fan of John Carpenter's Halloween and its sequel, Halloween 2. To me, that is the best 1-2 punch that one could ask for on Halloween night. But if we are judging things purely off of Halloween spirit and atmosphere, Halloween 3 Season of Witch wins hands down. And that's from the aesthetic and the cinematography standpoint, where there's Halloween decor and these really great dark shots with these perfect lighting. The creepy music throughout this entire movie score that, to me, might be one of John Carpenter's best scores. The ghoulish henchmen that are at Connell Cochran's disposal, and the absolutely diabolical, evil plot by the Silver Shamrock Company to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of children in the name of Samhain. All that is just quintessential Halloween for me. And it's also got an absolute badass freaking Tom Atkins as Dan Chalice, who is not only a doctor, but the guy is an absolute badass when it comes to fighting. He can freaking hold his liquor, and he can steal your girl in no time. And he might not be the hero we deserve, but he damn sure is the hero that we need. And don't forget that really, really, really contagious and infectious theme song for the Silver Shamrock Company. That's just a Halloween staple at this point. And sure, it's got a lot of 80s cheese, and it damn sure isn't the best of the Halloween franchise, but I appreciated the fact that they took a swing and tried to do something different, and also tried to leave behind the story of Michael Myers. I love the other sequels that include Michael Myers, but if I'm telling you the truth, I don't dislike the idea of Halloween becoming an anthology series. That was something that I would have liked to have seen, especially after seeing how good this is. And I understand that it's not a popular pick, and it's oftentimes hated by most fans, but it's good to see now that there are a lot of fans coming around to it, that I'm not the only one that actually loves this movie. And if you time it just right, you might be able to link up the times to where the ending of the movie ends at midnight on November 1st, giving a proper farewell to the spooky season. So make sure to grab some of these on your way out. Happy Halloween and enjoy your spooky night. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for your continued support and patience. Without y'all, this channel isn't possible. And if you like this video, like it. And if you like it enough, please head over to the channel, hit the subscribe and bell button so you never miss a new release. Also, please follow me on all social media platforms so you can get channel updates, movie news, and all forms of badassery. I hope everyone has a safe and spooky Halloween. Remember, there are no late fees. Be kind, rewind, and happy Halloween.